If you are looking for the best GPU in terms of performance, you are looking to get the RTX 4090, but we all know that getting a PC build with this GPU is quite expensive. For that reason, I will show you the cheapest PC build I would recommend you buying with the RTX 4090. This means that these are gonna be the minimum components I would recommend not to bottleneck this GPU, and getting anything less than this will be a bottleneck and I wouldn't recommend you spending less. I will also show you different options in case you have a bit of extra money to spend, and I just want to say that this PC is for 4K resolution only. I wouldn't recommend it for 1440p, let alone 1080p, because it will be a bottleneck and a waste of money in my opinion. You will have the links to all of these components and the extra options mentioned down below in the video description. That being said, let's start. With our CPU, we have the Ryzen 5 7600X going for $230, and honestly, this is the minimum CPU I would pair the RTX 4090 with. Anything less than this, for example the Ryzen 5 5600, is gonna create a bottleneck even at 4K resolution, especially on the more CPU demanding titles. Then for the CPU cooler, we have the Thermalright Assassin X 120 just for $20, and to be honest with you, this is all that we are gonna need for the Ryzen 5 7600X. You do not need to spend anything more on the CPU cooler. Then for the motherboard, we have the Gigabyte B650M-K Micro ATX motherboard. This one is enough for our AM5 platform and it has all the features needed for gaming. Then for the memory kit, we have the Patriot Viper Black 16 gigs of RAM kit, 2x8 by the way. This means that it's dual channel of DDR5 memory at 5200 MHz. If you're new to PCs, don't worry about these numbers. 16 gigs of RAM will be enough for gaming, and I do recommend you upgrading to 32 gigs, but I will explain why in a second. For the storage, we have the Team Group MP33 1TB of Gen 3 SSD. I want to clarify here, if you get Gen 4 SSD, it's not gonna give you a better gaming performance. The FPS will remain the same, so it's not gonna give you any advantage over a Gen 3 SSD. So this Team Group MP33 for just $38 is gonna be perfect. Then for the graphics card, of course, we have the RTX 4090 going for $1,600, which is actually the same as the MSRP price. We all know the RTX 4090 is the best GPU on the market in terms of performance. On a 13 game average at 4K resolution on ultra settings, is by far the best GPU out there with an average of 144 FPS, and we are talking about high demanding titles as well. So before you ask anything in the comment section, yes, it will run your favorite game on ultra settings at the highest FPS possible. Then for the case, we have the Montech Air 903 Max ATX mid-tower case. This one is just going for $75 and it comes with 3 pre-installed RGB fans on the front and 1 non-RGB fan on the back. If you want the exhaust fan to be RGB as well, you are looking to spend around $15 extra. Now this case is ATX and the motherboard is micro ATX. It means that the motherboard will look small and the case will look big, which is not ideal. Of course, compatibility won't be an issue, but the reason why I didn't put a micro ATX case here is because it wouldn't fit the RTX 4090, or it would fit it but just slightly. So trust me, I don't want you to go through a headache while building this PC. That's why I chose a big case, and if you want everything to match, I recommend you upgrading the motherboard to an ATX motherboard and not downgrading the case to a micro ATX one. Then for the power supply, we have the Enermax Revolution DF 850 watt 80 plus gold power supply. This is 8-tier rated and $110, which is a really decent price for a power supply like this one. The total price for this PC is $2,250, and as I said before, I wouldn't recommend you spending anything less than this if you want the RTX 4090 on your system, because that would mean that you are getting a worse CPU, which will bottleneck the RTX 4090. If you have a bit of extra money, for $50 extra, you can get 32 gigs of RAM of DDR5 memory and 2 TB of Gen 3 SSD. The reason why I do recommend you making this upgrade is because you are gonna be able to download a bunch of more titles. It's gonna give you more space to if you're a content creator, and having 32 gigs of RAM will give you a better performance for streaming, content creation, and productivity work. So if you're looking to do any of the three, having 32 gigs of RAM is actually essential, and the price difference between 32 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs is not that much, so I would recommend you doing this upgrade for just $50. And then if you have more money, for $2,530 I upgraded the CPU, CPU cooler and motherboard. For the CPU we have the Ryzen 7 7700X in CPU demanding titles. For games that are more GPU bound, this will make basically no difference, but for games like Flight Simulator, this is where the CPU does its best. Now if you're looking to play games like Valorant or CSGO or Fortnite, yes, these titles are more CPU demanding, so having the Ryzen 7 7700X will give you more performance, but the thing is that for any of these titles, even with the 7600X, you're gonna be able to average way more than you need, and you're gonna be bottlenecked by your monitor refresh rate because there's no 4K 360Hz monitor, so whether you get the Ryzen 5 7600X or the 7700X will not make a difference in those type of titles. Then because you get the CPU, you need a better CPU cooler, and I chose the Deepcool AK500 Ray CPU cooler for this Ryzen 7. You will have no issues with the CPU temps here, which is amazing for just $50 on the CPU cooler. And then for $190 we have the Gigabyte P650 Gaming X motherboard. This one is ATX, so it's gonna look better on the case that I've mentioned, and honestly it has a ton of features, so great motherboard overall. Just note that it doesn't have Wi-Fi included, so if you need Wi-Fi on your motherboard because you will not be connected via your Ethernet cable, you will have an option down below in the video description for the same price that has Wi-Fi from MSI. And another component I've upgraded is the power supply to the same Enermax Revolution DF2, but this time it's a 1050 watt power supply. That way we have no issues with the wattage required on the system. The total price is $2,540, and I do recommend you making this upgrade if, as I said before, you're gonna be playing high demanding CPU titles like Flight Simulator. Otherwise, the Ryzen 5 RTX 4090 combo is gonna be more than enough even for 4K gaming, and at the end of the day, it's the cheapest PC that you can get with this GPU. Now, if you don't care about spending money, then sure, spend around $3,000 to $3,500 and get the best CPU out there, but to be honest with you, this is not necessary. For the average person, this is going to be all that you need, and even less. You can get the RX 7900 XTX for the GPU, which is the second best GPU on the market, and spend way less than this and get amazing results. So if you're looking to spend less and get amazing performance at 4K, I recommend you watching my video about the best $2,000 gaming PC build for 4K resolution, which is actually slightly less than $2,000, so I highly recommend you watching that one if you want to save money and get great performance anyway. If you have any questions about this PC build or just any PC build or Prebuilt PC, let me know in the comment section. I will try to reply as fast as possible. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.